It's strange because almost everyone knows Ernie Cline as the author, as the guy that got to work with Steven Spielberg, as the guy who's living every geek's dream. But I got to know him as a slam poet in a tiny little club in Austin, Texas. The Electric Lounge was a little grunge Gen X club right next to the Austin Power Company. That's why it was named the Electric Lounge. But they would do spicy things like slam poetry nights or an all-acoustic ensemble called the Asylum Street Spankers. And in that little cross-section, it's one of the few times I've ever gotten to be part of a scene. And it's been a blast to follow all the characters over the years, including Ernie's unreal journey. Keep in touch with everyone, because everyone you meet is on their journey, and when you get to follow along and cheer for one of your friends as they crush it, it is a total blast. It was a real treat to catch up with him, and I hope you enjoy the Ernie Cline interview. This episode of The Modern Rogue brought to you by Privacy. Get yourself $5 to spend on your first purchase by heading on over to privacy.com/rogue.
I am a major fan of yours, not just because of the work that you've done, but because of the world you created with the work that you've done. Ready Player One was a smash hit, you know, one of the best-selling books of all time.
If I traveled back in time to talk to my younger self, he wouldn't believe any of this.
No, who would?
I have a hard time believing it now.
Well, the hardcover for Ready Player One is coming out on April 24th. Thank you so much, Ernie Cline. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of you in the future.
In 2011, Cline's debut novel, Ready Player One, became a bestseller. And now he's just finished work on the movie version.
We're still in the very early stages, but once the director comes on board and brings like whatever their visual, whatever their vision is to the Oasis, I'm really excited at what's going to happen.
When Steven Spielberg signed on to direct, Cline, the ultimate fanboy, became his collaborator.
So he's an authority on popular culture.
Do you have a favorite between the two DeLoreans?
No, I love them both equally.
I remember I was on the way to a gig at the Austin airport, and I saw a copy of the Austin Chronicle, and I was like, that crazy son of a he did it! Because it wasn't just that the news was about the publishing of the book and of the movie rights, but that you immediately reinvested it into telling an even bigger story than the book itself. Ernie Cline, the crazy kid who actually is living the dream. Knowing you, I don't think any of that was calculated. I think all of that just felt right.
I had wanted to own a DeLorean since 1983. I saw one in the lobby of COSI, this museum we went to in Columbus, Ohio, across from the very first Wendy's, and they had a DeLorean in the lobby, and it was roped off, and it was the car of the future. And this is 2 years before Back to the Future came out.
I was about to say, okay.
And it looked different than any car I'd ever seen. It looked like a spacecraft, the lines and everything on it. And when the doors came up, oh my God. I brought a disposable camera to the Science Museum, and I still have that roll of film. And there was like 2 pictures of a girl I had a crush on the bus, and the whole rest of the roll is just the DeLorean, of me going around taking pictures of this car. It was the most interesting thing in the Science Museum. So that was planted in my head. Then when Back to the Future came out, oh my God, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, one of the best movies of all time, greatest time travel story ever. And it like married this cool car with, it made it even more 80s, made it kind of an 80s icon when it already was in my mind. This one I bought, when I sold Ready Player One, I realized I could buy a DeLorean that I had always wanted, my dream car, and then I could turn it into the DeLorean that Wade, the protagonist in Ready Player One, drives in the book. He drives a mashup of these 4 vehicles. Doc Brown's Time Machine, the Ghostbusters Ectomobile, Buckaroo Banzai's jet car, and then Kit from Knight Rider. My 4 favorite 80s super vehicles mashed up into one. So that's the car that he drives in the Oasis, in the virtual world in the book. And I realized, I could buy a DeLorean, I could get the same personalized plates, and then I could drive it around on my hardcover tour, and it'll make my book signings so much more fun because people can come out and it was the best idea, one of the best ideas I've ever had.
And it just sort of came out of you fully formed.
Ready Player One?
Yes.
Ready Player One took me like 9 years to write.
Oh, really?
I had the idea, crazily enough, in August of 2001, like the month before 9/11. I found my original notes. What if Willy Wonka was a game designer? And what if he held his golden ticket contest inside his greatest video game, which could be this giant virtual reality. Then it gave me a million other ideas because I've been playing video games my whole life and imagining the future of video games my whole life. And so it was just a way for me to write down all those ideas. And then when I thought about what all the riddles and puzzles and clues that the eccentric game designer would have, then I thought, oh, they could be pop culture puzzles, like exist in some video games. And then that would give all this useless pop culture knowledge I'd amassed in my head, I could give it value in the story and also value to myself. Like all this research that I was doing about nothing, just things that I loved, I could put it into the story. And it would also make it easier to write the story because every time I sat down to write, I would be writing about things that I love as opposed to trying to imagine what kind of story other people would enjoy. I just try to please myself because I knew writing a novel is hard. And I was also working tech support at the time. You remember, I was working 4 10-hour days doing tech support.
You were in that weird superposition of because you had heat with Fanboys, but you were still working a day job at the time?
Well, Fanboys finally got released after sitting in the can for 2 years.
Yeah.
It finally got released in February of 2009. It was not a lot of money. It was like 25 grand. That movie was also produced by Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. So it was just an all-around bad experience. After sitting in the can and getting tinkered with and messed with, and they tried to remove as much of the sweetness as possible. They tried to turn it into 40-year-old virgin.
That was right around the time that Scam School was starting to get heat. I remember trying to track whether or not Scam School was making a dent on Reddit, and then I think I have a screen cap of both of our names, both of our projects.
Side by side on that? Yeah. But, I thought, when Fanboys got sold, because it started out that was going to be my Clerks. I had the idea, before I tried writing a novel, I tried writing a screenplay. I saw Clerks and Slacker and El Mariachi and Evil Dead. I'm like, that's the way to do it. You write a small, self-contained movie in one location that you can control, and then you can make it low budget, and then you showcase your writing, you can write good dialogue. And so that's what I was going to try to do with Fanboys. And the idea from Fanboys came from when my mom got sick with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and knew she was dying for a while and was able to tell people goodbye and put her. It was really painful, but also beautiful that she knew. Usually people don't know when they're going to pass away.
Yeah.
And so I was in, real grief over that after she died. And one of the things that I used to distract myself from being so bummed out was Star Wars. They were making the first new Star Wars movie in 17 years.
Some fans have waited their whole lives to see a Star Wars movie on the big screen. So waiting 8 to 10 hours in line for tickets is no big deal.
I just thought, this is the biggest thing that's happened in my generation.
Lines began forming at Evansville Showplace East hours before the movie opened.
I was there to see him the first opening day. And so, you wait so many years later, and then all of a sudden, here comes the very first episode, so you got to see it. It's going to be the best.
Others weren't even alive when Luke Skywalker and Han Solo first hit the big screen.
I'm hoping it's everything the first ones were and more. And I wasn't around to see the first movies in theater, and I hope this lives up to its name.
Some of the young people want to see a great film. Others are hoping to capture something more, to try to relive at 40 what wowed them at 18.
Despite some bad reviews, the first people to see The Phantom Menace say it was worth the wait in line. And for some, a wait they've endured for 16 years.
Oh, I'm in total awe. I mean, it was great. It was everything I expected and more.
Do you know the movie? What it's about?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
If episode 1 does well, it could be just the beginning.
People don't remember now what it was like to have nothing but novels and comics books from 1983 when Return of the Jedi came out, all the way, unless you count the Ewok movies, which we don't. And from 1983 all the way to 1999, no Star Wars. And so, and I remember spending all my time obsessing over the prequels and reading prequel websites and thinking, there's this terrible thought that I had, what would I do if I knew that I was dying like my mom and I wasn't going to live to see this movie that I've been waiting my entire adult life to see more Star Wars. And if I knew I wasn't going to make it till May of 1999, what would I do? And then I thought, I would have to get my friends together and go on a road trip across the country and break into Skywalker Ranch and try to see it early. And as soon as I had that idea, I'm like, oh my God, that would be a great idea for a movie and a great idea for a hero's journey that could mirror the hero's journey in Star Wars. You know, where the crappy van they take on the trip could be their Millennium Falcon, and we made it look like the Millennium Falcon, all of that. And I'm like, oh, and the van could be my single location. So I just get some friends. I actually have footage of me and some guys, actors that I found in Austin, slam poets, some of them, and we shot test footage driving around in a van, reciting dialogue. When the movie finally got made by the Weinstein Company, I remember I showed the director a shot of the same 4 characters sitting in the same 4 positions in the van in 1999 when I was trying to make it in Austin. And then 10 years later when we actually made it and got permission to film at Skywalker Ranch. So that's the craziest part of that. And I also remember that you and I and your wife and one of the guys who was in Fanboys, Pat, we all waited in line
for the Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
that's
for the
right.
Phantom Menace.
And Pat had the rebel tattoo on the back of his head. Yeah.
So I tried to make it myself, and in the process of making it, I wrote a part for Harry Knowles.
Yep.
And I asked him to play himself, and he's like, oh, let me read the script. And he read it, and Harry just lost his mind for it, loved it. He wrote a review of my script on his website, and that started a chain reaction that led to a producer in Hollywood reading about it and contacting me and like, is anybody option this from you? I'm like, well, I'm trying to make it myself for no money. And he's like, with the heat that the script is getting, like, I feel like we could maybe make this. And it took 10 years, but he was right. It did get made, and it got made by real Hollywood producers. But the process of it getting made totally demoralized me. It was amazing. We got to film it. William Shatner's in that movie. Harvey Weinstein ended up owing William Shatner a favor for doing this one day on Fanboys, and he got paid like $500,000. But that was one of the coolest days ever, because I went to the set of my movie, and William Shatner's there in the craft service line, getting eggs and sausage. We're all having breakfast with William Shatner. That is the fake cover of Trekking with TJ that you see in the movie. He gives like the Fanboys a copy of it. But the prop guy, Joe Arnold, who's a friend of mine, he took in 10 copies of the cover, and because you're not allowed to ask Bill for autographs, but he's like, we're going to have a scene where all the Fanboys have copies of this that are signed, so I just need you to sign these. He's like, sure. So Bill signs all 10 of them, and he's like, thank you, Mr. Shatner, and leaves. And then he immediately comes out, he's like, I just got Bill Shatner to sign 10 autographs and gave me one. So it was amazing. My buddy Shappy, I don't know if you remember my buddy Shappy, who was a slam poet, Shappy C. Schultz, got to be an extra too. And Seth Rogen ended up playing the character that I wrote for him, Admiral C. Schultz. It's actually in the credits. And when I introduced Shappy C. Schultz to Seth Rogen, he was like, oh, I'm playing you.
How much did you get to be there?
You can see me all over that movie. When Seth Rogen is standing in front of the Khan statue, pretending to be a Star Trek fan, I'm one of the Star Trek fans right behind him, the one in glasses, and my buddy Shappy. We're facing off against Jay Baruchel and Dan Flogler. You can see me, I'm the one in the lead chasing the van as they're like driving away after they've broken the Khan statue. Then you can see me later on in the casino. I'm part of Admiral C. Schultz's posse, we called it. And you can see me chasing the Fanboys in the casino. And that's the day I got to be in a scene with William Shatner, is he's talking to the Fanboys, and then we spot them and chase them. And I did an action scene. You can see me jumping over stuff. I was young and amble. So it was amazing. I'm like, I can't believe this. And finally, after the whole Stop Darth Weinstein thing.
Okay, well, for the uninitiated, this is like some 4D chess.
So Harvey Weinstein saw The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and it became the highest grossing R-rated comedy of all time at the time. And he's like, oh, these Fanboys, this Star Wars fan movie that I have about this kid dying of cancer. So they go on a road trip to do something noble for their dying friend and break into Skywalker Ranch and see the Phantom Menace early because he's not going to live to see it. He decided, oh, well, these guys are kind of like 40-year-old virgins. We could do some editing, shoot some new scenes, and they took it away from the original director, gave it to Steve Brill, a guy who didn't even know who Boba Fett was, and they shot a bunch of extra scenes, and we're going to try to take out the cancer subplot of the dying friend and have them just go and break into Skywalker Ranch just because they wanted to, see it early, like rob the whole call to adventure and the whole reason they were doing it. He was going to change. They shot a version of this of the movie like that, and me and Adam F. Goldberg, the creator of the Goldbergs, had to sit there and watch this whole bastardized version of our movie. But as word of that got out, and I helped spread word, and it resulted in Stop Darth Weinstein. I did everything I could. I'd been working on the internet forever, so I did everything I could to stoke the flames of Stop Darth Weinstein and photoshopping Harvey Weinstein's head onto a fat Darth Vader and making cartoons to make fun of him. And people started to call him Darth Weinstein on the street. There's like a famous story about he showed up in China and met the ambassador of China, who showed up in a Stop Darth Weinstein t-shirt.
Because he didn't know.
He didn't know. He thought he would get a kick out of it. But it had Harvey's wine. So that pissed him off so much, he called Kevin Spacey. He said, I will give this movie back and you can have your dying friend subplot if you, Kevin Spacey, call me a Jedi Knight in the press, because I'm sick of being called a Sith Lord. So that's how you really want the Jedi Knight endorsement from Kevin Spacey. But he got it. Kevin Spacey called him a Jedi Knight in a bunch of interviews. They gave the movie back. Kyle Newman, the director, called me up. He's like, they're giving it back to us. We get to re-edit it and we get to do the final sound mix at Skywalker Sound. Do you want to come? So I got to go and spend 3 days at Skywalker Ranch editing my movie about breaking into Skywalker Ranch. So the joke I make, but it's true, I think I'm the only Star Wars fan in history to break into Skywalker Ranch by writing a movie about breaking into Skywalker Ranch.
So what does that do to you emotionally?
I stole everything I stole everything that I could. I'll show you the phone book. Here's the map they gave me at the gate. And they're like, go right ahead. This is where they made all the fucking Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And
it's gorgeous, right? It's all...
Yeah, it's beautiful. George Lucas had this vision, like the best place in the California hills. A beautiful, like orchard, a vineyard, had its own firehouse, some of the best food I've ever eaten. They had an amazing menu, but it was amazing, dude. They had these bicycles that you could ride between the different buildings, and it says Skywalker Ranch on the side of them, and I seriously thought about shoving one in my rental car. But then I'm like, I would never be able to, I would feel guilty. So I didn't steal but I stole a bunch of phone books and everything else that was not nailed down. And then the movie came out, and it was not as good as it could have been if they had left this alone and it hadn't been tinkered with. But it's a miracle that it got made at all.
Anybody who's been through any kind of Hollywood ringer, it's a miracle anything gets made at all, ever.
The two crazy things that happened during the sound mix was there's a scene where Chris Marquette's character kisses Carrie Fisher when she plays a nurse in the hospital. He says this, I love you to her when she helps with his escape out of the hospital. And it didn't occur to us that we should have had her say, I know.
Yeah.
Right? But we had access to the entire Lucasfilm sound library. So we called the main house and said, can we use this? And then they checked with George and he said yes. So we got to use Carrie Fisher saying, I know from Return of the Jedi when Han Solo says, I love you. And so when you hear I know, in Fanboys, it's that I know from,
That's awesome.
But also when the van lights up, the R2 dome on Bucephalus, the van in Fanboys lights up, those are real R2 sound. Ben Burt R2 sounds from the archive. And then also we actually got to go and film when Linus walks out of the main house after seeing episode 1 early before he dies. That's the first film ever to film at Skywalker Ranch. So it was an amazing experience, but it also taught me that maybe I didn't want to write screenplays because nobody ever reads what you originally wrote, except for a few hundred people, and it's just a blueprint, a working blueprint.
And then meanwhile, your name goes on.
You take all the blame.
Yeah.
Not Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey or any of the producers or assholes who tinkered with what your vision. Like, you take all the blame. Like, the writers really, because people don't know how movies work. But so it made me want to try writing a novel to see what could happen if I could just geek out directly with the audience, not have anybody tell me they don't get it, or tell me I was doing it wrong, and just drill down as deep into nerd culture as I wanted. And so that was Ready Player One. And I would set that book aside for sometimes 6 months and go write a screenplay because I was trying to do something that I could sell, and it was much easier to write a screenplay. So much faster, so much empty space on a page of a screenplay. It's so great.
you're like, I barely started typing.
I just knocked this
That's
out.
a page?
Yeah. But then I would always come back to Ready Player One, and I didn't think it could ever be a movie.
Especially because it seems like you're almost flagrantly playing with IPs that, any point did you have to look up law? Am I allowed to write this?
I assume, I'm like, I'll figure this out. When I try to find an agent for it, I assume they'll tell me whether or not I can do this. But everything I read about fair use, because I was imagining this future virtual version of the internet where it's like the internet is now, where everything from all pop culture is on the internet. If you write about going on the internet and going to a Pac-Man website or a different or a Marvel Comics or a DC website and viewing Spider-Man, nobody thinks that you're getting in trouble. But if you have somebody in a Spider-Man avatar doing things, it's no different. Because it's something it's easy to imagine. It's already happening in Fortnite and every other game. The internet is already this pop culture mashup, so imagining a future version of the internet that's a pop culture mashup seemed natural. And I just wrote it without, knowing whether or not you could sell something like that. But once I found an agent, they're like, yeah, this is just fair use. And Fanboys did. The fact that I had a movie made, even though it wasn't, fantastic and it wasn't well received, just getting a movie made is such a Herculean thing. That helped me get a book agent, and they helped me sell it. And then when they sent this book around, that I wasn't even sure you could write a book like this, and maybe that was the thing, because the agents all said they had never read anything like it, and then there was a bidding war between Random House, Simon & Schuster, all the big publishers, and they have film scouts in the publishing world in New York that watch, and if there's a big book auction, they will alert other movie studios, and then the movie studios can express interest to the publisher, and so that resulted in there being a bidding war over the film rights to Ready Player One.
Now, does your agent do you the solid of not telling you about things until after they're done, or?
They told me, because I got a preemptive offer from one of the publishers who's like, if you end all the bidding right now, we'll pay you this amount, and it was more money than I ever imagined I would make ever in my whole life. And she's like, but I suggest you don't take that, because I think the bidding will be even more. They wouldn't be doing this if they knew the bidding wasn't going to go higher. I can't guarantee you that it is, but it sure seems like so. So that was like the longest 2 days of my life, waiting to see if the bidding would go as high as the early offer. But then it went way well above it. And then there was a bidding war for the movie rights, which sold for even more than the book rights. So my whole life changed in just those 2 days. And then after that, when the book came out, everything you could ever want to happen to you when you write your first novel happened to me. Bidding war for the book, bidding war for the movie rights, bestseller in hardcover, bestseller in paperback, and then eventually, since I had already established myself as a screenwriter with Fanboys, if they wanted to buy the movie rights, they had to let me write the first few drafts of the screenplay.
Right.
I just adapted my own book. So if the end film ends up resembling my book at all, then I would end up getting partial screenwriting credit. By abandoning screenwriting and writing a novel, I assumed I would never become a movie. I ended up getting to write a screenplay for a Steven Spielberg movie.
But you also, along the way, made some very savvy decisions. For example, they offered you the opportunity to read your audiobook, and you have a performer's background.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're an award-winning slam poet and who loves geeking out on the mic.
I do.
And yet you said, no, thank you. Please give this to... You handpicked Will Wheaton, right?
I handpicked Will Wheaton because he had read one of John Scalzi's audiobooks, and I had heard... and
Red Shirts, I think?
Yeah. But Will is also 2 months younger than me. We were born the same year, just a few months apart. So, and I'd read, he used to do reviews of Atari 2600 games for The Onion called Games of Our Lives that I thought were hysterical. He used to write reviews of Next Generation episodes that were hysterical. I thought he was a great writer and an amazing actor. And I'm like, well, if I could get that guy to do my audiobook, it would be amazing. I'm not an actor, and the best audiobook readers are the ones who bring a story to life. And he said yes before he read the book and knew that I had made him president or vice president of the Oasis. He remembered me from one of my slam poems. Will Wheaton had posted one of my nerd porn auteur slam poem on FARC, and it made it like the top post on FARC, which is like the precursor to Reddit.
Yeah.
And I was selling CDs back then through a
Ultra
PO box.
Airwolf.
Yeah. Ended up selling like hundreds of CDs because of Will Wheaton, and he remembered that. And that's why I made him the vice president. He and Cory Doctorow had both posted. Cory had posted something on Boing Boing. So both those were like my two biggest CD sales. Is why I made those guys president and vice president of the Oasis. They had plugged my slam poetry stuff on the internet, and it had helped make it viral. Like I used to get the text of my old slam poems sent back to me with some of it rewritten. Writing about pop culture in the early days of the internet, my stuff would go viral, and so that led to Fanboys, which led to, and the frustration over how Fanboys led to Ready Player One.
Again, you have such a knack for tapping into the Gestalt. I guess that's part of being into the geek culture as deep as you are. Which was the slam poem that you did that you put to slideshows and then added a little bit of music at the end and it went nuts?
Dance Monkeys Dance.
Yeah.
Some kid in Brazil made a slideshow. It went viral and millions of people saw it. And then, because I was like, oh, that's a powerful way to make a slam poem go viral is to add images to it. But the images that he selected for my words made me I didn't like the context. So I'm like, oh, I should do my own version. And then it went viral, and you can still find it out there. But yeah, Dance Monkeys Dance was one of my most popular slam poems. But all of that, you know, the confidence, and I started out doing stand-up comedy in Columbus before I moved to Austin, and did stand-up comedy here in Austin for a while, but found out slam poetry was a much better fit. I could write these kind of short comedic monologues and perform them, and then just get off stage, not have to do 30 minutes or it was much easier.
You would always pull what Bonnie and I call the juggler at the magic convention. A bunch of very talented magicians get up and do their thing, but one juggler demonstrates an actual skill. Everyone loses their mind at the magic convention, right? So it's like you being a stand-up comedian and bringing that sensibility to the slam poet.
Yeah, and doing funny poems was like a hack, because I ended up becoming the Austin Poetry Slam champion 3 times.
We could say hack, but also I think you are on the vanguard of remix culture, and I think that's one of the themes. That's kind of what Ready Player One is about the core fundamentals of the story are the same no matter what the skins are.
Because that's how I grew up. That's how we grew up. If you're born in the 70s, you grow up in the womb of pop culture, in the golden age of cartoons and movies in the 70s and 80s.
Back when they were trying
90s.
to sell us.
Yeah, and then the birth of the internet. We had born without, cable television, home computers, home video games, dial-up modems, and then the internet, all of it. We lived through all of that, and it was all just also giving you more and more access to more pop culture and more music and movies and things all around the world. And you could see how it was just going to evolve to the place where it is now, where you can pretty much get anything from any song or any movie or any piece of media, video game from anywhere. And you can see how that would merge with the internet and become just this vast pop culture landscape. Because I was always writing about things I loved. There are a lot of other people who love those same things, and Ready Player One ends up being like a celebration of all the movies and music and video games and pop culture that I had loved. And those are touchstones that don't just resonate with everyone in America, but by the 80s, pop culture, American pop culture was being shipped all around the world, and even in, everywhere. They had Knight Rider and Magnum P.I. and Riptide.
Yes, wow, Riptide, good pull.
And then Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I watched Riptide because it had a computer hacker. I'll watch any show in the 80s if it had Boz, who was the guy who programmed the orange robot, and would also, whenever the Riptide guys had the magic computer hacker. I love the genre of 80s movies where it's a clear ripoff of a movie.
Yep.
Like Automan is a ripoff of Tron.
Automan was Tron. Airwolf was Blue Thunder.
Blue Thunder.
Yeah.
And Knight Rider was kind of, there was a John Carpenter movie, I think, called Black Moon Rising, about a supercar. There were some supercars that predated
Christine and
Knight Rider. But a car used in Back to the Future when they restored it, the guys that restored it gave me pieces. And same with one of the original kits. It's the pieces of original kit and original DeLorean.
We grew up in the last days of the monoculture, where you were force-fed canonical, 30 to 80 programs per week. And whether they were good or bad or bland or predictable, at least we all spoke that same language. And now we're so far in the weeds in terms of, my kids speak fundamentally a different language. Do you think that makes us more isolated or more like just we're all foreign exchange students at all times?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, there's still those subcultures. My eldest kid is really into Bandersnatch, the interactive Netflix movie. But it's like a smaller fan base, but you can still find all those fans, super fans of that or whatever it is you're into on the internet. There's 8-9 billion people now. Whatever you love, there's somebody else who also loves it and probably loves it more than you and has probably built a shrine to it on some social media page. You can find those people and still geek out, but it's not, it's not like when there were 8 shows on television, like Knight Rider and Airwolf and the A-Team. It's like when Taxi was on. I became friends with Tony Danza because we had the same manager for a while, and he is the nicest guy. But hanging out with Tony Danza is like hanging out with a fame alien. There were 3 shows on, and Taxi was one of them, and then Who's the Boss? So everyone, even if they don't really know, they still they see his face I know this guy. How do I know him? And then most people just, oh my God, Tony. Everybody in the world's on a first name basis with him. And so he creates this it's got to be like hanging out with Bill Gates or, it creates a reality distortion field around him.
It was so masterful because it's like you saw the book itself and then you expanded the fractal of the story outside of the pages of the book into reality, where it's like you got to, because you went even farther than that, in that the first printing of the book had a quest built in, and you held all of that secret until you were ready to. Talk me through this.
So the book's about a futuristic video game contest, and I realized when we were doing all the layout and design of the hardcover, I was like, oh, there's in the story, Wade, there's this book, fictional book called Anorak's Almanac. Wade is studying it, and he finds out some of the letters have a notch in them, and that if you write down the letters that have a notch, they spell out a message. And I'm like, oh, I could do the same thing in the text of Ready Player One and have it spell out a website. Spoiler, it spells out anoraksalmanac.com. So I registered that domain and then built a website, and that's all I had planned. And I'm like, oh, I could do a contest, and I could have it centered around that website. And so once the hardcover came out and the book was a bestseller, and I was like, oh, well, now they're going to send me on a paperback tour. I can to promote the paperback, I can announce this. There's an Easter egg, and if you find it, leads to this website, and then that leads to the first of 3 video game challenges. And I'm like, oh, and by then, after a bunch of people had read Ready Player One and it had become a bestseller, all these video game designers had reached out to me to tell me how much they love it. And one of them was my friend Mike Micah, who now works at Atari. But at the time, he was working for Other Ocean. And he said, hey, if you ever want to make an Atari game or anything to promote your book, let me know. And I said, yes, right now. Let's do it. So he ended up helping me make The Stacks. It's a fictional game that Wade designs in the book. It's like a Jedi building your first lightsaber. You have to build an Atari game. And so he makes The Stacks, climbing in the stack trailers. And Mike and a buddy of his, Kevin, made this game, burned it into real EEPROMs and real Atari cartridges, but also made a file that we could upload to the website. And then any Atari emulator would play it. And that was the first of 3 video game challenges. The second one ended up...
And you had to actually become good at the game in order to hit the leaderboard?
Yeah, well, it had you had to collect different treasures, and then it ended up you would get different pieces, kind of like you would collect different pieces of the phone in E.T. to phone home.
Yeah.
You have to collect different pieces of a QR code. And once you have all the QR code, you could scan it, and it would take you to the second website where it had the second video game challenge, which ended up being Lord British's company had made a Facebook game called Super Collector. Back when like Farmville and games like that were huge. He helped me hide an Easter egg into that where people would play that game, and if they found collect all these different items, they could get a DeLorean in their collection, in their virtual house. So that was the second video game challenge, and people who beat that got a link to the third challenge, which was to set a world record on one of the video games mentioned in the story.
And these were all established world records.
Yeah, you had to set a new world record on Joust, Tempest. I had like a list of 4 or 5 games. Craig Queen from Kentucky set a new world record on Joust for the Atari 2600, got it verified by Twin Galaxies, and he won the car. Back when G4 TV was a thing, I went on G4 TV, and they flew Craig out, and I gave him the car, and he drove it home to Kentucky.
And so as you were putting everything together, I mean, you had the foresight, like at the time of publication, your foresight ended with, I got a website and a encoded thing in here.
Yeah.
Where I go from there, we'll figure it out.
Oh, I registered websites for all the fictional companies, and then used those websites to create like a, as if the Oasis would actually, so like a kid browsing around the internet could go see fictional logos and websites for these companies. And so that ended up being where I hid all the stuff for the contest. And it was a nightmare. Going back, I don't know. It was a lot of work, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had to hire a lawyer to help me figure out the contest rules. I found out that's why certain states say not applicable in Florida or Delaware, because those states have weird laws that can screw you over for a contest. So I had to exclude some states. Then I got a bunch of angry fans. Screw you! People are so angry on the internet. And this is back when it was actual people that were angry and not robots.
Well, isn't that wild?
I know, but those were the days, man, when you could at least be assured you're talking to a real human being.
You read Neil Stephenson's The Diamond Age, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nanobots is the thing that causes a post-abundance society, and there's a heavy premium on in-person Victorian-era style, status-based, ritualistic. I am a person, you are a person.
Yes,
I'm hopeful that comes back. I'm ready.
Me too. This was the GPD, the Grand Prize DeLorean that I gave away.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't you give it away?
This was the hardcover tour. This was the paperback tour. Everyone I stopped, I'm like, this could be the car that you win. It was the Grand Prize DeLorean, and people took pictures of it, and it made all the book signings even more fun. And so the guy who won the DeLorean, he had it for like 3 years. And then he emailed me and said, I've got 5 kids and only one of them can ride in this at a time. I don't have a garage for it. It's not a very practical car.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm going to have to sell it. He regretted selling it after he ended up buying a DeLorean again after he sold it. But he's
really,
he missed it. But he reached a time there where he didn't want it. He was going to sell it. He's like, I thought I would offer to sell it back to you, since you know the history of the car. And I'm like, well, it is the grand prize DeLorean. So I bought it back. Then I gave the car to my brother for a while, and he didn't have a place to store it. So he gave it back to me. This car's like a boomerang. It came back to me. But he helped me restore it a little. And then my friend, Jamie McShann, who's a local droid builder here in Austin, Jamie brought an RTU to one of my book signings at the Alamo. And it was rolling around, and it was at the back rear of the car. We took a picture of it. I'm like, man, that would fit right on the flat spot at the back of a DeLorean, the rear engine cover. And ever since then, I'm like, man, that would look amazing. So I pitched the idea to Jamie. He helped me. I guess there's a network of droid builders where they have different lathes at different aluminum companies. I don't know. Anyhow, he helped me get all the pieces and make a working R2 unit. Then The Mandalorian came out. Yeah. It's like my favorite Western ever, a Western set in Star Wars. And then I realized, it could be The Mandalorian. I could make it in the Mandalorian DeLorean. And so then, since then, it's been an art project. I do these different kind of electronics sculptures. The cars are among them, but this whole area is full of modified electronics and ways for me to avoid writing. I come in here to get inspired, but then I ended up goofing off.
Yeah.
I need to go through this room and go upstairs and write.
This is like side quest. It's the garage. I want to take a tour and see, because I know you have stories behind all of this, but before we do, what are you excited about for the future? And I mean next 5-10 years.
AI is waking up. Everybody's paying a monthly fee to help train the AI. To replace them. It's like the Manhattan Project, or Mr. Onceler in the Lorax. If I didn't do it, someone else would. It's an arms race for AI. We can't help it. We've got our whole planet wired up to explode, but we can't help it. That's just our nature. Sorry, we don't trust each other, and we're gonna fight over resources. That was the sentiment of Dance Monkeys Dance, and it's still playing out. It's the scariest time ever to be a dad, to be a parent, and everything seems so precarious. So I don't know. I try to be optimistic. Really, aliens are our only hope. If it's not, because AI is going to be patterned on our own weaknesses, and so AIs will destroy us. But I think we have to hope that there's some non-human intelligence that will finally just come down and smack us around. But anyhow, so that's what I'm focused on right now and into the future.
We've got more and more tools that make it possible to, as I think of it, just get bubbled, trapped in your own bubble. I just want to not feel like the internet has my number and just feed me more of whatever I've gotten.
Yeah, no, you have to log in as a guest.
Yeah.
Create a new computer and not put any of your identifying stuff. No, because and even then, from your IP address.
You probably know about fingerprinting, where technically there's no cookie, but there's certain things that browsers are allowed to know, like what your screen resolution is, what your color scheme or whatever. And it's enough that it's a digital fingerprint.
Now AI is on the job of further hacking our dopamine and making sure that we don't stop scrolling. I got completely off of social media. After the movie came out, after Ready Player One movie, I can't be on the internet like a normal person anymore.
You now have the Tony Danza problem.
Or it's the Spielberg effect. Everybody, because I made a movie with him, everybody sees me as a conduit to Steven Spielberg. They can get their script to Steven Spielberg through me, which you cannot.
Please, if nothing else.
Yeah. If I hand Steven Spielberg any screenplays, they will be ones that I have written.
Do you get out to fan events much these days? We talked about the in-person stuff.
Yeah, I do. Recently, I went to Classic Game Fest. I didn't appear there, but I went and I still go to conventions and stuff that I'm interested in. Usually only if it's a video game or comic book, pop culture related. I don't get recognized unless I'm at a place where people are looking for me usually.
I've heard that the perfect kind of famous is author famous, where it's by and large, it's 99% nothing, but 1%, they know exactly who they are, and the only reason they want to talk to you is to say thank you.
Yeah, no, it's the best. I'm really lucky.
What of your stuff would you like most for people to check out?
I can show off the cars.
Yeah. Oh, I actually meant online, but yeah, let's take a tour,
online?
man.
I don't have anything. I sell books. You can find them where books are sold and movies.
Thank you so much for this. This is fantastic.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, let's take a tour. This will be great.
All right, Brant, can you spell privacy?
Yes.
Yes.
P-R-I.
The P stands for privacy. The R stands for right. The I stands for I want to make sure that my money stays in my account and that I can work with a vendor without worrying about somebody stealing all my credit card info. V stands for verily. I say unto thee, you should go to privacy.com/rogue. You know what's going to happen? You'll get $5 to spend on your first purchase, and the best part is you'll be able to generate one-time use cards, merchant locked cards, category locked cards, everywhere cards, compatible with Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay. And
what does A stand for?
Oh, wait, I thought we went right to Y. That would have been privy. A stands for and cards. That's A and C. Why? Because guess what? Sooner or later, everyone tries to steal your card info. What if you could just shut down a card the moment that vendor was compromised? What if you could figure out which vendor was unscrupulous before they... Oh, wait, verily, vendor. That would have... What if you could figure out which vendor got hacked before even they announced it? All of that and more is possible through the power of privacy.com. Connected to your bank account, it's going to be super safe. Generate cards on the fly. So the moment anything gets compromised, you shut it down. Then you're going to be able to buy with confidence. You don't like what's happening? Shut! You have all the power and you maintain your privacy. Head on over to privacy.com/rogue. Get $5 to spend on your first purchase.
This video was supported in part by viewers like you at patreon.com/modernrogue. It's a good way to support the show, but I just wanted to take a second to let you know that we also sell shirts. If you're interested in those, you can find the link in the support section of our description.
This will be great. All right, wait here. We can take a short break.
All right.
And then what I'll do is I'll just double check that everything rolled on all of that.
Cool.
That's good. That's about an hour. We got like 3 nice arcs in there.
Oh, we should show that